There we go. Wow, no. Perfect. Yeah, continue. This isn't where we were at. Wait. This is... Yes, I figured it out. I always forget, because it's always like, I don't do it enough, I guess. It's good to see you. Yeah, you too. I'll go above the text instead of over it. This is like... It kind of started us at chapter 4, but that's okay, because we weren't that far into it. I'll just skip some of this. Oh yeah, that's right. I also took notes for a recap. I forgot. Bloop, 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 bloop. Let me get my notes. So we went back to the doctor's proof last time. We went back to the doctor to prove that we weren't crazy. And love the maroon avatar. Yay! Thank you! It's Maroon because my cat's name is Maroon. But you already knew that. Recap. Yeah! So we went back to the doctor to prove that we're not crazy. But, like, our regular doctor, the doctor that we wanted to see, the one that we saw last time, wasn't there. Because he had, like, a migraine or something. And then we went and got, like, a fake D-sword. And it broke. Because it was fake and it was cheap or whatever. Oh yeah, and there's a new girl at school. And she doesn't talk a lot. Which that's okay. She could talk when she wants. Oh, and I got like a weird voicemail. I had a call earlier and I got a weird voicemail. It was like, like a recording of like the walkway and like the song that plays so that blind people know when to cross. That's the voicemail I got. And then in the night, I went to get some snacks, and I shouldn't call it me. I shouldn't call Takumi me, because I would be really sad if I was like Takumi. So I'm gonna say Takumi from now. And Takumi went to get some snacks in the night, or food. I don't know. He went out to the convenience store, but like when he went outside, nobody was there. Ooh. Like nobody at all. Not even a little bit. And he was going crazy because there was nobody there. And then there was like a guy in a wheelchair after a while. He finds like a guy in a wheelchair and he says, "I'm Shogun." Do we have a better idea on what's going on? Oh, like in the world? No. I feel that maybe chapter 4 might, I don't know, have more explanations for the world. Oh yeah, we meet Shogun and then Rimi saves us. And yep. That's what happened last time. But yeah. Or eating a popsicle. One of them was standing alone with a curious stern expression on her face. We got like a lot farther last time on this. Cause like... Grr. I'm gonna see... Maybe there's like, unless I saved it wrong. No, yeah, we'll just... We'll skip it. No. We'll just continue from here. From where she was standing, you could tell all the way to the big TV at Scramble Crossing. They were showing promo for some famous singer at the bottom of the screen and was scrolling line text talking about the New Gen murders. Not a day went by when she didn't see something about New Gen. The TV, the papers, the net, the magazines, even the big TV in the city. Senna wasn't interested in them at all. But walking through Shibuya, she would often hear people talking about the murder. Whose eyes are those? Lately, she'd been seeing people wearing t-shirts with the question printed on their fronts. It had gotten its start in an underground meme in Shibuya, and now it was getting out of control. Somebody in Harajuku gift shop had started selling t-shirts, and they'd sold pretty well. At least that's what she'd heard. A smiling man say as she passed by her on the street. It was a good sign of how little people cared about anything but themselves. Senna gave a little snort of contempt before she ate the last bite of her popsicle. She closed her eyes, the stern expression still on her face. She listened to the noises of the city. On Sundays, the area around the station was filled with many different sounds. The trains rattling on the station taxi horns. People as they walked. Yep. I read that. Music from the big TV. Music from the big TV. And inside the shops at Sign City. Announcements endlessly telling you how to safely ride an escalator. Don't put sand on the escalator. The sound she never stopped. As soon as she ended, another took its place. All the different sounds layered together onto a discount jumble of static. Senna focused on the noise, directing her attention to the people's voices. Her brain shut out any other sounds so she could hear the words clearly. Wow. There's so many people talking. Senna let a little grunt. Bloop. She stopped listening almost immediately. The noises offended her. Offered her nothing useful. In the end, the noises was just noise. Senna looked around one more time. For a while now, she'd had this awful feeling like a cold finger running down her spine. Someone's gaze was upon her, but she couldn't find out who it was. Senna stepped away from the pillar she'd been leaning against. And then, as if she'd remembered she was holding it, she stared down at the a popsicle stick in her hand. Dang it, not a winner. She looked even more upset as she walked quickly toward the station. Whoa. It's Mr. Blue.
どうしてあんなに泣きたくなるくらい青いのかな。私は望んでない。
This is your mental world, but it's mine too.
ねえ、あの空はどこにあるの？
The Mr. Blue Sky? It's the ELO song. Anywhere if you wish for it.
望んでいいの？
Yes. You can wish for anything you want. Yesterday's Splatoon was such a great episode. Series 10 had a lot of cool scenes, and there was also a sexy kiss. The animation quality was top-notch, too. Series 10 was calling me. And being super moe about it, too. I had no choice but to get up. I ripped off the covers from the sofa with a moon. I feel like we were farther in chapter 4 than this. But maybe not that far. I don't know. Yeah, it'll probably be fine, because I didn't recap this part. I include this part in the recap. Ooh. When I hit the switch on the alarm, Series 10's voice abruptly stopped. My Seria voice alarm was a treasure of mine. If you didn't flip the switch, the volume would get gradually louder and louder before switching to an intense buzzing sound. I wanted to start my morning waking up with Series 10, which meant I always tried to flip the switch before the buzzer sounded. I'd only ever failed twice. Waking up with Series 10 always put me in a great mood. Well, no, actually, playing games all night and sleeping on the hard sofa made me feel like crap. But having Series 10 wake me up did make a little bit of the pain go away. Today was a school day. I missed a full day last week, and it was starting to throw off my schedule. I was supposed to only go twice a week, but thanks to that, I'd have to go 3 times. Dang it. I didn't want to go, but I had to. Any more skipping and I couldn't graduate. To be honest, even if I could graduate, I wouldn't make that big of a difference to me. I just had a dream about Remy. It was a strange dream. Somehow nostalgic, somehow lonely, somehow sad, and somehow incredibly distant. I wondered if she was coming to school today. I'd spent a lot of time thinking about what happened 2 days ago. I'd spent so much time thinking about it that it cut into my ESO time. I didn't think much about Shogun or the delusion of the empty Shibuya. They didn't seem at all important to me. All of it was most likely just a delusion of mine. It was hard to believe that Shogun could be an old man like that, and thinking back, the idea of every single person disappearing from Shibuya just seems silly. Oh. It was a very realistic delusion, but I found myself embarrassed by how easily I'd believe something so impossible could happen. What was more important was Rimi, the girl I called the demon girl just a little bit ago. In that place where I felt like a strange floating dream, she'd held me tight and I could still remember the feeling of her body. If she hadn't done that, I might have gone crazy. Why is Rimi... Why has Rimi saved me? Why had Rimi saved me? Was it because we were friends? I didn't have any memories at all of us being classmates since our first year, or of going to see a movie with her and Mizumi. But the way she treated me was the way you'd treat a good friend. When she'd held me tight and looked a little like she was about to cry. That, at least, didn't seem like an act she was putting on. I'd never met a girl who'd cry over a creepy otaku like me. After seeing it, the fear and suspicion I'd felt just blown away. In fact, I almost felt like I could fall in love with her, though I stopped myself from going that far. No need to worry about that. Never mind. What I felt was uncertainty. How should I face Rimi from now on out? Was she my friend or my enemy? Was she responsible for the New Gen murders? It was an undeniable fact she saved me, but it was also true that I'd seen her covered in blood at the site of the crucified murder. I stopped at Shoto Park on my way to school. Ever since the incident with Yua, I'd quit my habit of eating breakfast here. No more breakfast for me. The idea that Yua could be out there somewhere watching me made it impossible to enjoy my meal. And even worse, if she came to talk to me, I'd have to listen to a bunch of delusional nonsense. I didn't have time to deal with her. Yua works for Rimi. That was my original idea, but it may have been wrong. That didn't mean that Yua was an enemy, though. Maybe Shogun was the big boss and Yua was working hard for him. Was working for him. I keep adding words. Whatever the case, it'd be best if I stayed away from her. But today, I'd come here for some reason anyway. I looked around carefully to make sure Yua was nowhere to be seen. Then I slowly sat down on my bench. I took a bite out of the chocolate pastry I'd bought at the convenience store and looked out at the lake. Saw a fish jump out of there. There was barely any wind and the water's surface was still calm. Once in a while, I could see that what might be a cart moving through the cloudy water. There was nobody in the park today, which was rare. It was very quiet space. As I looked around the park, I found myself thinking about Rimi again. To be honest, I'd almost decided to not go to school today just to avoid facing her again. That's why I'd come here to the park to buy some time. I felt like I'd said all kinds of awful things to her, but she'd always smiled and be kind to me. And I was sure if I went to school again, she'd come talk to me like she always has. She'd pretend that what we'd experienced in front of the 107 had never happened. She'd smile and treat me like a friend. Part of her constantly cheerful nature did seem a little obnoxious, but it also felt like if I stayed with her, I might start to feel cheerful too. What should I say when I meet her? I didn't think of her as a demon anymore, but it was also true that I didn't think of her as a friend. Mizumi had said that she and I had been friends and classmates for over 1.5 years, but I have no memories of that at all. Maybe something had broken within me after all. But could my memories of Rimi disappeared while everything else stayed intact? Was that possible? I don't know how you did it, but you did it. You forgot someone you knew. Just kidding. I went to school. I went to the school building, head pointed toward the ground as always. I did my usual thing of walking slowly on the side of the hallway while I headed for the stairs. My class was on the 3rd floor. It was kind of a pain to get there. I wished there was an escalator. That would suck, I think. As I got up the stairs, I saw a girl slowly staggering up them. She was dragging her right leg. Did she sprain it or something? Her tiny body was kind of wobbling as she walked. She looked like she might fall at any minute. The other students were quickly passing by her while she went slowly up each step. From below, I could almost see her panties. Look away! Crap. If I didn't do something, I'd look like a pervert. You kinda are, though. I didn't want anybody calling me a creep. I tried to quickly walk past her when... You knocked her over. The girl tripped on the stairs and staggered forward. Ow. And then she fell hard on her face. Dang. Fortunately, she was standing on the landing when she'd fallen, so she didn't end up rolling down the stairs, but she was just lying there on her knees, not moving. She died. Just kidding. Was this the beginning of something romantic? No. You need to calm down. Not a chance. Even if it was, I didn't have the courage to talk to her. I quickly slipped past her. Sorry, but get help from Mizumi or somebody who likes 3D girls. Yeah, okay, but like you don't have to help somebody because you like them. You can just help them because you're a person. Don't expect anything from me. But the girl still wasn't moving, and I started to get a little worried. When I got halfway up the second set of stairs, I turned around and checked on her. She was clinging to the railing, trying her hardest to stand up. Her knees were shaking like she was a newborn deer. There was blood on her knee. Maybe she'd scraped it. Probably. That's probably what happened. Ooh. I'd seen her face somewhere before. Was she the one who transferred into my class last week? Yeah. What was her name again? I couldn't remember. And she was crying, too. Did it hurt that badly? Sure, it was a bad fall, but it shouldn't have been enough to make her cry. Yeah, well, you don't know that. You're just talking about transferring your... Before? You were talking about transferring your headaches to somebody else, and, like, your headaches hurt so much that, like, it might kill somebody because it hurts so much. Okay? Nobody else was trying to help her. She finally managed to just barely stand up and then begin to look down at her knee. She seemed to be checking how badly it was hurt. She wiped away her tears, then put down her bag and started to rummage through it. Was she trying to find... What was she trying to find? I wondered. She suddenly pulled something out of her bag. What was that? Oh, that was my tail. Yeah, it's like... I'm like, why is something moving back there? It was me. She suddenly pulled something out of her bag and held it above her head, like she'd won a great victory. In her fingers, she held a bandage. Our eyes met. She quickly flushed with embarrassment and looked down. Well, she seemed okay. She didn't need my help, at least, right? I decided to go head to my classroom and leave her there. Jerk. I kept my head down and gazed glued to my feet as always. I arrived at my seat wordlessly. Actually, hadn't the girl said something to me on the other day she transferred here? I'd forgotten all about it with what happened with Remy, but what had she meant? What's this guy? As always, Mizumi said hello to me. Maybe he didn't have any friends besides me. That would explain why he only ever seemed to talk to me, at least. Whoa. What? Whoa, detectives? Like in a movie? Detectives? They had serious looks on their face instead of silly looks. How you have a silly look is you have a little clown nose. Honk honk. Maybe the new gen killer goes to our school. For some reason, I found myself thinking of Remy's face. I'm in the way. I also talked over them, I'm sorry. My body froze. Speak of the devil, I heard Remy's voice and my heart rate jumped. Whoa! I couldn't look up. I was so nervous. It was a totally different type of nervousness than what I'd felt last week, though. They're looking at me while talking to each other. I'm not contributing to the conversation, but they're looking at me. The two of them were talking. One on each side of my desk. They were both totally ignoring me. But to be honest, I preferred it that way. If Remy talked to me, I was sure I could. I wasn't sure I could answer back. I was hoping that the bell would ring, but when I looked over at the clock, I saw there were 5 minutes until the first bell.
そういやタク、ここに来る途中で梢ちゃん見なかったか？
Yeah, that was real meanie. Kozue, who's Kozue?
どうせお前のことだから覚えてねえとは思ったけど、マジでそうだったんだな。先週転校してきた子のことだよ。折原梢ちゃん。
Oh, so her name was Kozue Orihara.
階段で
階段？
見た。
お、そっか。じゃあもうすぐ来るな。
Mizumi's voice was filled with eager anticipation. I hadn't seen him this alive since he'd found out that FES was a girl in the next classroom over a few days ago. I'd never seen him excited about anything that didn't involve girls, actually. Come to think of it, hadn't he tried to hit on the transfer student on the first day, too? It was kind of impressive, actually, especially since he already had a girlfriend. That's not impressive, though. It's just terrible.
なあ、梢ちゃんってマジ可愛いと思わねえ？
I wasn't sure how to answer that. I gave him a vague nod. He seemed to take it as a yes.
太郎、俺一目で気に入っ
What's
ちまったよ。
up? Hello!
なんか守ってやりたくなるんだよな。
How's that going?
男子みんなも同じ意見だよ。どいつも可愛いって言ってんだ。けどよ、女子の間じゃあんま評判良くねえんだよな。まだ転校してきたばっかだぜ。それなのに早くもうざいみてえな意見まで出てきてんだよ。このクラスの女子って性格悪いやつ多すぎだ。
Dang.
それって大臣のせいじゃないの？だいたいそのうざいって言ったのどうせ大臣の彼女でしょ？
ああ、そうだけど。
そりゃあ彼女にしてみればうざいに決まってるよ。自分の彼氏が目の前で折原さんを口説きに行っちゃってたらさ。
Wow.
私でさえよく喧嘩売られるんだから。大輔君に近寄らないでって。しかも一人じゃなくて何人かから言われた。
マジ？
自覚なしか。少しは反省したら？
いやー、モテる男は辛いぜ。
Yeah.
これだよ。さすが女の敵。私フォローしてあげないからね。あ、折原さん来た。
なんか怪我してるみたいじゃね？
本当だ。どうしたんだろう。
It's anybody's guess what happened. It was from when she tripped on the staircase. Of course, I didn't tell them that. For now, I wanted to minimize the amount of time I spent talking to Rimi.
俺、ちょっと行ってくれ。
Mizumi ran off toward the transfer student. Rimi was now the only one standing next to me. Please, Mizumi, don't leave me. Wow. Whoa. I was lined up for that. Rimi didn't say a thing, but she didn't make it any move to leave either. She kept staring down on my desk, so I couldn't see the look on her face. I could only see her waist, but I could tell that she was facing me. She was looking at me. what should I say? Some kind of normal greeting. But I never said hello to anybody, which meant if I started here, it would seem really unnatural. Talk about the transfer student? But I never gossip with Remy at all. So if I started now, it would seem really unnatural. I think anything you say would be unnatural. In my opinion. Thank her for the other day? Yes. No, I should apologize for being mean after she saved me. Yeah, that's also. Ask her what she's doing there? Yeah. Or ask her if she held me close because she liked me? Or maybe ask her what she was doing at the scene of the crucified. No way. None of those were things I could just bring up in casual conversation. Well, some of those things you could. Wow. Bloop. Damn it! What was I supposed to do? The silence was making the pressure worse and worse. I needed to say something. It would be even more awkward to just sit here in silence. I knew both these things were true, but the words just didn't come out. I hated dealing with with the 3D world so much. How could anybody deal with this place? If just trying to talk made you feel like you were choking, I needed to get home and have Seryuten make me feel better. Remy finally spoke. My body shivered. I still couldn't look up. Remy's voice dropped low. I felt like I could feel her breath faintly tickling my ear. Yeah. I looked up. That's what I was missing. I looked up to see her face was close, and she was whispering into me. Her body was close to mine. Her soft, warm body felt that held me close in the middle of the road. The sensation of her body filled my mind, and I couldn't think about anything else. I nodded forcefully several times. Standing in the middle of the road. That was all she said before she turned to go away. Suddenly, I wanted to ask her. She'd said I'd gone. Whatever I'd done was dangerous. Ooh. Looky. Oh, hey. The eyes are lined up to be looking at her. They're looking. What did she think I had been doing? From the fact that she hadn't brought them, she might not know anything about the people disappearing from Shibuya or Shogun and his wheelchair. Did that mean they really were part of my delusion? I wanted to ask Remy that, but I didn't feel like I could raise my head to ask any more questions. Not today, anyway. I wasn't ready. Oh, never mind. Thought this was going a certain direction. Maybe not yet. Maybe. Wait, which direction? Up, down, left, or right? Just kidding. You could, I think you can romance people in this, but I don't want Takumi to do that. I'm gonna go for the bad ending because I don't like the main character. I'm gonna do a school days. Just kidding. Maybe. Oh, here comes my cat. She's gonna jump up on the desk. Ow! Or scratch me. Let go. But I didn't feel. Oh, wait, I already read that. I'd ask next time. Next time I came to school, yeah, that was it. I'd take some time to think about everything I needed to ask.
あれ
Nice. Yeah.
ねえタク折原さんがこっち来たよ
The transfer student? Why would she be coming over here? Was she going to get mad at me for not helping her on the stairs? She didn't look like the type of girl. Maybe she wanted to talk to Rimi, not me. The transfer student stopped right next to Rimi. She wasn't saying anything. What was going on? With Rimi here, I couldn't look up. The transfer student's feet seemed to be nervously fidgeting, but she didn't say anything.
折原さんどうしたの
For some reason, she put a single bandage down on the edge of my desk. It was a fancy one, and with a weird Froggy on it.
Huh?
Was she giving me this? I wasn't sure how to react to that. This transfer student, Kozue Orihara, was a bit of an odd one. Yeah. Huh? Was she crying? Yeah. Look at those tears in her eyes. Why was she crying? Because I didn't say anything? But she didn't say anything either, right?
タクは怒ってるわけじゃないと思うよ
Rimi backed me up. It felt strange. I didn't know anything about Rimi, and she knew all about me.
彼ってあんまり人と目を合わせようとしないの引っ込み思案ってやつ
Yeah.
だからそんなにガチガチに緊張しなくてもね私にも絆創膏くれるのありがとう
Everyone gets a band-aid. The transfer student bowed and ran to her desk seat.
なんだかよくわかんないんだけどタクその絆創膏もらってあげるべきだと思う
Why had she given it to me?
梢ちゃん無口だよな
I could see Mizumi coming back.
転校初日に俺が校内を案内したんだけどよ
うわ早くも手出したんだ
Wow.
まだ出してねえっつうのんでまあ1時間ぐらいかけてあちこち回ったんだけどもう俺一人で延々と喋り続けたよあん時はさすがにちーっと疲れたぜ
You showing her around for an hour? How big's the school?
しかもすぐ泣きべそかく
Or maybe it would take an hour. I don't know.
そうそう今も急に泣き出したから何が起きたかと思ってあたふたしちゃった。
そんだけピュアなんだよ。なあタク、お前ならわかるだろ。梢ちゃんの仕草一つ一つの可愛さってのがよ。
Wait, so is crying all the time... Does crying all the time equal pure heart? I guess in their eyes.
萌えってやつだ。なんだ、クソでも我慢してんのか？
Oh my gosh. He gets mad easily. I shook my head as hard as I could. No, I don't gotta go poo.
たくさっきからちっとも喋ってくれないんだ。
That's because you're here, Rimi. I'm not ready to talk to you. I'd never really talked to a female friend before. Oh. I never even had a female friend.
でもさ今折原さんと話してみてなんとなく思ったんだけど彼女と話してるとなんだか疲れちゃいそうかもなんて。
女子ってのはマジで同性に対して容赦ねえな。ま、梢ちゃんは俺が守るからいいけどな。
ほんの数十秒前に大地も相手するの疲れたって言ってなかった？
うっせ。梢ちゃんはタクと同じ匂いがするぜ。ほっとけねって感じ？
それはわかるかも。
And they fade away. Bloop. The sound of the bell told me that all the classes of the day were finished. As soon as I heard it, I packed all of my stuff and headed out the door. I wanted to get the heck out of there as soon as possible because of the awkward distance between me and Rimi. But also, I had something to pick up at the... At Mandrake today. No. Mandrake? Maybe. In the end, I was never able to say the word Tarimi. I had several chances to talk to her, but I kept silent the whole day, just like I'd done in the morning. Maybe that was mean. Maybe I just made it even harder to talk to her next time. Probably. I felt like maybe I was only making things worse. That's what you always do. You always make everything worse. Just kidding. I heard an annoying girl call out to me as I left the school building. Nanami ran up to me with a trash can in her arms. She seemed to be in the middle of taking out the garbage. Why'd she have to bother me then? I tried to ignore her and leave, but as always, she refused to let me go. Nanami yanked on the hem of my blazer.
妹見て逃げるなって何度言えばわかるの？
なんだよ。
なんだよじゃないよ。お兄が逃げるからナナもつい追いかけちゃうんじゃん。
Don't run after me if you don't even have anything to talk about.
相変わらず家に電話かけてこないし。まあ、ナナはもう諦めたけど、どうせお兄が真面目に連絡入れてくるとは思えないもんね。
Good, you understand. That's the kind of intellect I want to see in my little sister. Not that I need a 3D little sister at all. Okay.
というわけでこれからも定期的にナナがお兄の部屋に様子見に行くから感謝してよね。
Crap, I should have known that was how this was going to end up. Won't somebody rid me of this obnoxious little sister? No. If that was wait, oh yeah, no, if that was impossible, at least I wanted to get back at her a little. I wanted to get back at her for a long time, actually. Wait. I had an idea. I had a plan that I had been working on for a while. This was my chance to put it into practice. Maybe it would give me a little bit of vengeance. I looked around, make sure no one was watching, and then I beckoned Nanami to follow me into the yard.
何？
ちょっと来てくれ。
なんで？なんかあるの？
Man, she was annoying. Could you just shut up and follow me?
ナナミに大事な頼みがある。
え？頼み？お兄が？なのに？
Her eyes were wide with shock.
珍しいじゃん。お兄が頼み事なんて。
とにかく黙ってついてこいって。
I'm scared what he's gonna
ちょ
do.
っと待ってよ。
There wasn't that many people in the yard. At lunchtime, it was filled with students eating lunch. Nobody but the gardening club would bother coming here after school, though.
で、頼みって？
She put her trash can down and looked at me with a smile.
あ、条件はマクでおごりね。その条件飲んでくれるんなら、本当は嫌だけど、お兄の頼み聞いてあげる。
Grr, she was so annoying. I didn't think she wanted me to pay a price for it. Especially since I'd already bought her McD's. Well, whatever.
わかった。おごる。
え、本当？今日のお兄いつもと違うね。
I was actually lying, though. Sorry for being a liar. Lol. I handed Nanami my cell phone. Then I asked her to call the number that 03x733x991, the one that had prank called me.
着歴の番号にかける？相手は誰？
ネットの知り合い。
She looked at me suspiciously, so I came up with the most plausible sounding lie I could.
どうしてナナがかけるの？
かければわかる。
Okay, yeah, that's a plausible lie.
なんなの？
Yeah, he is. Jeez, would you shut up? I think she's asking very reasonable questions. Just shut up and do what I tell you. And if you can't do that, then I'll leave. I don't need you for anything.
じゃあもうお前には頼まない。
I tried to take the phone back, but Nanami pulled her hand away from me.
あ、わかったってかけるよ。かければいいんでしょ？ほんとわがままなお兄だな。
You don't get to talk. Oh my gosh. I held back my anger and gulped as I waited for her to call the number. Nanami innocently put the phone up to her ear and waited for someone to answer. I could tell I could see the yellow bangle. I'm unsure if I'm reading that right. Bangle? Like one of the banana splits? 1 banana, 2 banana, 3 banana, 4. Oh, I could see the yellow bangle on her wrist as she pulled up the phone. That was the one I gave her. Or, more precisely, that she'd taken from my room. But you were gonna throw it away, so... I don't know. I don't know why he's holding a grudge on that. She was wearing it to school? Did she like it that much? The cheap bangle I bought for free? Nanami really did have had terrible fashion sense. Maybe I was one to talk, though. No. That wasn't important right now. Who was going to answer the phone? Maybe some scary Daikun guy. I hoped it was just a prank and had nothing to do with Shogun or Yua.
もしもし
Someone seemed to have picked up. Nanami had spoken into the receiver. But she soon furrowed her brow, then she offered the phone back to me.
お兄
なんだ
なんだじゃないよ現在使われてませんって言ってるよ
I took the phone and put it up to my ear, and what I heard was...
おかけになった電話番号は現在使われておりません。番号をご確認の上、もう一度おかけ直しください。
It was true. Maybe it really was just a prank then. Maybe whoever was behind it would just call a bunch of random numbers and prank them before ditching the phone and number they were using. That was a lot of work for a prank. Well, it wasn't my problem. Now that I knew the mysterious call was just a prank, I felt much safer.
ねえ一体何なの
もうお前用なし
He needs to phrase things better. I left Nanami behind and started to walk, but Nanami followed after me.
どういうことか説明してよ
Shut up!
お前掃除中だろゴミ箱置きっぱなしだぞ
ねでも説明聞いてないもん
僕は帰る
Nanami grabbed me, but I ignored her and started to quickly walk toward the school gate.
お兄じゃあマクディおごる約束だからねちゃんと覚えといてよ
Okay.
知るか
Oh my god. Can't even...
嘘ついたの
まあな
Nanami came to a stop, pouting. That was a really long break. But I kept walking.
お兄のバカ
She screamed loud enough for everyone to hear. I looked back annoyed and she was glaring at me, shoulders heaving with rage.
お兄なんて携帯の電磁波の影響で脳みそスカスカにされて死んじゃえ
Yeah! Crap. Thanks to Nanami's yelling, I was starting to attract attention. I had to go unnoticed at school. What an obnoxious little sister. I headed for the gate at a jog, ignoring her. The best move at a time like this was to run. I could hear her screaming even outside the gate. There was an artist I liked called Higashi Marasema. Marasema? Higashi Marasema was super famous, and his circle had huge lines at every event they attended. His new Bloodtoon Dojin, which had come out in the summer, had sold out in an instant. I wanted to go, but those events were always too crowded for me. I'd recently given up. Oh, reluctantly. I was like, why recently? What happened? I thought that I could just buy it from Mandrake, but I'd been naive. They sold some copies there, but they were gone in minutes. The things were going for tens of thousands of yen above retail online. Freaking net resellers. I had hoped they'd all just die. Why? This guy goes... That's a little much. I don't know, maybe he's joking. Maybe he's joking about that. I don't know. I thought that I'd given up entirely. But on Atchan yesterday, I'd happened to see a post saying that Mandrake had gotten a new shipment in. That's why I'd come here right after school.
神様、奇跡を起こしたまえ。
I said a silent prayer in front of the shop and headed inside. I reached for the dojinshi corner, and as thoroughly as I could. Oh, I searched. Oh my gosh. I went back and forth again and again, searching and searching. But I couldn't find it. It was sold out already? I glanced quickly at the register. The cashier was a girl. She wasn't very cute. Oh my god! But she looked friendly. What? Why do you gotta add that? Asking a cashier if they had something in stock was an extremely high-level technique, and one I'd never used in my entire life. The reason was simple. I didn't have the courage. Especially since Higashi Maraseme? No, I read that different than how I did before. I think. Marasama. Higashi Marasama's new dojin was called Seiritan Extreme Kaskas. Not a chance. Excuse me, do you have any copies of Seiritan's Extreme Kaskas? If I asked a female cashier that, I'd look like a pervert. Yeah, not happening. Dude is an actual peach, and I don't mean an ass. He is! And I don't mean peach. I love that. I was like, he's not a peach, but you mean ass. Oh, like like that one SpongeBob joke where Squidward's being a jerk and they play like a donkey. They put a donkey over him. I love that. In the end, I gave up and left. Or maybe I should go to At Cafe. As I walked along, uncertain of what to do, I caught a glimpse of a certain sword I recognized in the corner of my eye. Its distinctive shape, like it was split in two at the edges, was the same that Girl B, that is, Cinna, had been holding. I could see its tip peeking above the crowd of people walking down Center Street. It was coming toward me, so I quickly ran to a nearby arcade. I hid in the shadows and watched as Cinna walked by. She was heading to the station at a fast pace, the same scary look on her face that she always had. It didn't seem like she'd noticed me. That said, after experiencing for myself how embarrassing it was to carry a D-sword down the street, it was hard not to be impressed by her. She wasn't embarrassed at all while carrying that. The cops had to have stopped her at least once, right? I was sure of it. Cinna was getting... This guy... Okay. This guy's dumb. This guy's really dumb. Because, like, he went and got, like, a D sword. But why doesn't he think that the sword that she has is a D sword? I think he's a little dumb. And I would say that's okay, but he sucks in other ways. So it's... Cinna was getting further and further away from me. Where could you get a cool D sword like that? The one she has. Oh, okay, so... Oh, wait, okay. So he doesn't... He thinks that people can see it, but nobody's... Yeah, okay, whatever. No, the one I bought didn't glow and didn't look that cool. Honestly, I was pretty dissatisfied with it. Compared to mine, Cinna was incredibly cool. I bought the D-sword... I'd bought the D-sword as a good luck charm, mostly. I'd been scared to death and was ready to cling to anything that might offer salvation. After what happened with Remy, I felt a little better, but the situation hadn't really changed. Shogun, Yua, I still had a lot of enemies out there. That's why I wanted a stronger-looking D-sword. Of course, part of it was just I was an otaku, and we like to collect things. As if drawn by Cinna's D-sword, I found myself heading out into Scramble Crossing. I bit my lip. Crap. I hadn't wanted to come near the station. Bro, why did my record play Hooked on a Feeling when the purple hair girl showed up? This song, like, ooga chaka, ooga chaka. Oh, what? Because she's pretty? Maybe? I'll sing it next time I see her. Then it'll play again! Why didn't I even want... I already read that. Being surrounded by people I didn't know made me feel like I had nowhere to run. It felt hard to breathe. As usual, the place was packed. I started to feel sicker and sicker. For a while, I just stared at the ground, trying not to throw up. When I looked again, the D-Sword was gone. I thought I'd seen her walk over to the Hachiko statue. The crosswalk's light scramble crossing had just turned green. Maybe Record knows I have a type. Ooh. The tough girl. Or purple. Or both. Many people began to walk in many different directions. The area inside the crossing was pure chaos. Oh wait, I have an idea. I had an idea. Oh wait, and then I think I get little. It's almost lining up to my eyes. Okay. What? Whoa, too much. Oh, too much again. Just right. Like when Goldilocks breaks and enters. Man, Goldilocks breaking and entering, and then like being like, oh, the stuff here sucks, except for this one thing. Why is this house I broke into suck? I always thought that was funny. Many people began to walk in different directions. The area inside the crossing was pure chaos. It shocked me that so many people could each be going in their own direction without slamming into each other. They used their eyes. Oh! My face tracking keeps reading so many expressions. I think I might turn it down because it's doing it a little too much, I feel. Boom, 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 boom. Ba 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 ba. Where is that? It's also different every time. Like, I have it at the same settings, but it's different. Okay. That looks like it'll be good. Yeah, okay. Looking at it, I realized how impossible my delusions of an anti-scramble crossing the other day was. There probably wasn't a single second in a year when this place was empty. Why was I chasing after Senna anyways? 'Cause she's pretty. I couldn't even ask a cashier at Mandrake if they had a Dojin in stock. How was I supposed to be able to talk to that scary Senna girl? She might even have an enemy. If I walked right up to her without any defenses up, there's no telling what she would do to me. Yeah, 'cause you're a little weakling. I was being crazy. I should just go home. But just when I turned to go... Oh! I noticed a white chain lying on the road. And while I couldn't be sure because the other pedestrians were blocking my view, it looked like it led all the way to the other side of Scramble Crossing. What was that about? It was an awfully long chain. Was it for some kind of construction thing? But it didn't look like anybody was doing any kind of construction. It was hard to believe somebody would just leave this chain here. Maybe it was for a TV or movie shoot. No, they wouldn't do a shoot with all these people around. Unless you walked right in on the set. Oops. Had somebody just left it here? Then a huge chain like this? I could take it. This could be my giant chain. Well, look at this person's shoes. Here, wait, look at those shoes. Her toes are touching the ground all the time. This is probably gonna hurt. But would you wear shoes like that? It would be a hassle just to bring it here. Either way, it was in the way of pedestrians and cars. Confused, I looked at the people around me to see how they reacted. It looked like you could easily tip over the thing. Oh, trip. It looked like you could easily trip over the thing, but nobody was paying any attention. I rubbed my eyes and stared at it, wondering if I'd just hallucinated it, but the chain was still there. It was creepy, so I didn't have the courage to touch it, though. It wasn't a cheap plastic thing. It was made out of tough-looking metal. It wasn't aluminum, it was steel. How long had it been here? Well, it's not rusty, so probably not long. Normally, I would think it was a trap. I'd assume something terrible was waiting for me at the other end of it and ran away in fear. But for some reason, I couldn't stop thinking about where it might lead. A kind of oppressive force was taking over my mind and telling me I need to follow it. Yeah, let's go see where this goes. I stumbled into several people as I went, but I managed to make it to the other side of the crossing before the light turned red. The chain led to an old train car, painted dark green, that was sitting next to the Hachiko statue. The train's car's wheels had been removed, so it was more like a momentum than something you could actually use. Oh, monument. I was like, they use momentum to move this around? Yeah. Yeah, I guess you couldn't use a car that doesn't have wheels. It was more like a monument than something that could actually that you could actually use. This car was open to anybody who wanted to go inside, if I remembered right. The chain led through the car's opening door and inside. There were a lot of people waiting around Chico, but nobody was paying it any attention and didn't even seem to notice it was there. It didn't seem like there was anybody inside the train car either. I gulped and looked inside. Whoa! I can't stop this feeling. That's all I remember. Ooga chaka, ooga chaka. Oh, what if instead of saying like auga, you say ooga chaka, ooga chaka. It was only then that I realized it was a trap. I didn't understand why it had taken me this long to notice. The train car had seemed empty, but there was actually a single person inside. Whoa! Crazy! Sena Aoi was sitting on one of the red seats, her legs crossed. Her sharp gaze was locked firmly into me. For some reason, she had a popsicle in her hand. That shade of blue, it was a garigari-kun? Wasn't it? No, Gariguri-kun wasn't important right now. Hell yeah! Yeah! The strange thing was, I didn't see her huge D-sword anywhere. It was so big, where could she have hidden it? Instead of the sword, the white chain was coiled up at her feet. I realized that when we'd last met, she said something about being at the train car. This must have been what she meant. Yeah, probably. So she'd been the one to put the chain out there. Had she actually walked around carrying that huge thing? It had to weigh at least 10 kilograms, and it was probably over 50 meters long. There was something about this girl that was just beyond my understanding. She wasn't normal. Could she be Shogun? No, Shogun already introduced himself. I got scared and tried to run. Although I guess, like, from his perspective, he thought that Shogun was, like, he made up meeting Shogun, so, yeah. But then her sharp gaze came flying at me.
Hi.
Suddenly I stopped. There was a note of command in her voice. It was like this train car was her personal possession. Of course, I didn't have any intention of going inside. I didn't know who the girl was, and I could barely talk to 3D girls anyway. I didn't want to get involved. Okay. Sena's voice was commanding and broke into dissent. She wasn't moving, but if I made the slightest move to run, there was no telling what she'd do. She might be a really high-level Daikun, the kind who wouldn't think twice about getting violent with a man. I was scared. But if I was obedient, and it might make things even worse. I'd have to deal with Daikuns a few times in my life. the best thing to do was always to run. Whether you did what they said or not, something awful always ended up happening to you. So the best thing to do was to run. I needed to find a way to get out of here. Suddenly, something pushed me forward. I was caught off guard and lost my balance, falling forward like an idiot into the train. Shocked, I turned toward the entrance to see who'd pushed me. There were a lot of people outside, but I couldn't tell which one of them had done it. Maybe they'd already run away. Why did they push me, though? Ooh, why'd they push me? Ooh. Who'd do something so mean? I'd hit my knee when I'd fallen, and it hurt a little. I slowly staggered to my feet, being careful not to look Senna in the eye. Suddenly, I realized something. The coiled chain had been at Senna's feet just a moment ago was now completely gone. She must have moved it somewhere, but I hadn't heard any sound, and she'd been sitting in her seat the whole time. And even if she had moved it, where had she moved it to? I couldn't see the chain anywhere in the car. An error? Oh, wait. Oh, wait. More. Oops. Wait, that didn't do... Whoa! Bloop, bloop. I'm watching from the window. Now I'll go back to the popsicle. There was an error. Senna asked me another strange question, completely ignoring my confusion. I shook my head quickly in confusion, and her expression only grew sterner. Finally, she looked away from me, sighing a little and nibbling on her popsicle. When she released me from her terrible gaze, I almost collapsed. I wanted to sit on a seat. She'd probably say something She'd probably say something. I gave up on the idea. Uh-oh.
私が作ったエラーが見えていただろ
だからエラーって何？
鎖だ。白い鎖。
If that was what she meant, then yes, I'd seen it. I'd followed this strange white train, white chain all the way here.
でもどこにもない。消えたよ。
消した。私の妄想だからな。
Delusion? What was she talking about?
じゃあ剣は？
お前も持っているだろう。
Huh? She thought I had one? Of course I don't. Of course I didn't. This conversation wasn't making any sense.
それより、お前は何者なんだ?
Huh, yeah, who am I?
見えているみたいだけど。
は？
Senna glanced at me before jerking her head in the direction of the window. Wait, are they gonna do the I think therefore I am? Wow, I was spot on in titling this.
この窓の外に何が見える？
Outside the window? It's me. I'm out there. People. I saw lots of people. There were even more than there'd been a second ago. Just looking at them made my head hurt. People with their heads down, playing with their cell phones, people laughing as they walked, as they talked on the phone, people just standing and watching other people go by. Most of the people I could see were from where I was standing, seemed to be waiting for someone else. Actually, how come none of these people actually tried to come inside the train?
完璧な世界。
Oh, she ate more of the
そこにある
popsicle.
と思うか？
Since when we last saw her, she ate more popsicle. Do you think there's a perfect complete world out
ある
there?
はずがない。エラーは確かに存在する。すべてのものは人も含めて電気仕掛けだからな。
Whoa. This was her weird personal fan fiction. Oh, was this? I mean, I had similar fantasies all of the time. I wasn't going to tell her not to have them. All the novels, all the movies, all the anime in the world came from goofy fantasies. So why were the fantasies of a novelist or director okay, while ones amateurs like me come up with mocked? 'Cause people are mean. And what's more, think about it. All the great people of history had goofy, childish fantasies. The Wright brothers honestly believed they could fly over hundreds of years ago. Napoleon actually told people the word impossible is not in my dictionary. You shouldn't make fun of somebody for having fantasies. All of history's greatest had fantasies. The problem was, this girl had suddenly started sharing hers with me.
何を見ているかじゃない。何を見せられているか。人は体の外からの情報を五感によって得ているけど、その受け取る情報のおよそ 80% は視覚から入ってくる。そして視覚から得られた映像はパルス信号となって視神経を通り脳に送られる。
It was kind of like a phone, I thought. A phone took somebody's voice. Yeah, we already did this. Are we gonna do it again? A phone took somebody's voice and turned it into an electrical signal, and then sent the information to someone else far away.
電話か。似ていると言えなくもない。
She read my mind. She read my mind. No, that was impossible. Had I spoken aloud without realizing it?
VR 技術を知っているか？
Virtual reality? You know, when this came out, VR wasn't as much as it is now. Of course, this time I was careful not to say it aloud.
ビジュアルリビルディング。
Huh? I was wrong. I'd never heard that.
アメリカの精神生理学分野で研究が行われている技術だ。生まれながらに目が不自由な人でも目の前にある景色がちゃんと見えるようになる。 ビデオカメラのような映像機器を介してな。どうやってという顔をしているな。だが仕組みとしては単純な話だ。ビデオカメラが映した映像も脳を流れる神経パルスもどちらも突き詰めれば電気による信号なんだぞ。要は神経パルスにコンバートできる技術さえあればいい。すでに実際にテストは成功している。ある研究チームが特許を取得済みだ。
Patent? Was it true? It felt like a really well thought out delusion, but what kind of delusion includes stuff about patents?
その特許から読み取れることがある。
Senna turned her gaze away from the window and toward me. She crossed her legs again slowly.
ある意図的な情報を神経パルスへコンバートすることが可能なら、人の五感すべて、さらには人の意志そのものもコントロールできるんじゃないか。
Whoa. The train was right in front of Shibuya Station, but it was strangely quiet. It felt like the sound was being shut out. Of course, it was just my imagination, but I remembered the empty Shibuya I'd seen days ago and couldn't take my eyes off the crowd outside.
さっき言ったように、人は電気仕掛けだ。脳だけじゃなく、全身に張り巡らされている神経にも電気が通っている。つまり、肉体的な動きまでも操れるということになるんだ。理論的にはな。
This girl. I was in shock. She was more delusional than even you or me. What she said sounded logical on the surface, kind of, but it was clearly just a fantasy.
事実、特許を取得した研究チームもその方向へと研究内容をシフトしている。あまりに危険すぎる内容だったから、アメリカ大統領が歯止めをかけようとして行政命令を出したくらいだ。
No, it probably wasn't because it was dangerous. It probably was because it wasn't making money. Is what I would assume. How much of what she was saying was actually true?
いかなる機関であろうと、政府との事前合意なしに人体の機密の研究を行うことを禁じる。それを支援することも同様である。
Senna looked down. She tightly clenched her fists as they rested in her lap.
だが世の中、腐った連中ばかりだ。倫理を無視して、自分の利益のためだけに他者を平気で犠牲にするような連中がな。ヘドが出る。
Me too. She put the last of the melting Garigari Kun popsicle into her mouth, then stood up. She stepped back, only to find my back against the wall. Oh, I stepped back.
知らない方が幸せなこともあるという人間もいるが、そんなのはただの甘えだ。世界を疑え、仕組みを知れ。
Yeah!
この世界は完璧じゃない。
She was walking toward me. Ooh. I thought she might punch me and tried to shield myself with my arms, but Senna just walked straight past me.
お前の見ている景色は本物か?
She whispered as she passed me, without so much as a glance my way. And then she left the train. I watched Senna walk away through the train car's window. Standing there in shock, she disappeared in the crowd without turning around once. In the end, I never figured out what she was trying to say. One thing I could tell was she really hated the world, a completely typical teenager, I guess. From my perspective, having to listen to all that crazy stuff was just a nuisance. The way she spoke made it sound like she was a teacher giving a lecture. In 2D, the way she talked to me might be kind of moe, but in the real world, it just made her seem like a daikun. This guy needs to go out more and talk to more people. But I was glad she didn't attack me. For some reason, she had this air about her, like she might slap someone at any time, for any reason. I felt like I needed to rest for a moment, so I sat down in the seat where Senna had been sitting a moment ago. A second later, I'ma go watch some crimes, have fun with stream. Also, your main character is the scum. Yeah, have fun watching your crimes. See ya. A second later, a daikun-looking couple came inside. Then, soon after them, 3 daikun-looking girls came in. Then, an old man and a young salaryman in a suit. Before long at all, the car was jammed tight with people. Don't they know this train's going nowhere? Nobody had tried to come in when Senna was here, so why had it suddenly changed? The voices of the girls and daikun couple were annoying me. I whispered "die" several times to myself silently before leaving. So yeah, this weird chick was hassling me. Boop. You have angered me. Listen, Nightheart, you keep saying you're not into 3D chicks, but you seem to be having a whole lot of fun with them. You said one broke inside your house the other day? That's totally out of an age game. You've got some luck lately, asshole. Listen to me. Listen to what I'm saying. Yes, I'll admit, I've had more chances to talk to cute girls. But they're all crazy. Let's see how you react if they tried their weird fantasy shit on you. It's seriously scary, man. Lol, sorry. It's all good. Even after I made it home, I couldn't get Senna's words out of my mind. Of course, I didn't think it was real, but what part about the patents had the executive order I could find if I decided to look it up? I went to Grimm for help, and we started searching the internet. Grimm knew somebody who lived in the US, so we got their help too. Not that I expected to find anything. These days, nobody would believe anything without a source. Shiho was Grimm's net buddy. They lived in the US and spoke fluent English stupendously. It was BS, right? That crazy bitch. She probably thought she could fool me because I didn't speak English. Don't underestimate the internet. Glad that's settled. They found it, they said. They found it, they said. What? Found what? They're translating it for us. I'll pull it up for you. This another troll? You don't trust me, huh?
もしかしてマジなのか
Well, I guess I can understand why all the given shit I pulled. Or lol. Yeah, lol. I want to bring Shiho here then. Oh, want me. Yeah, wait. Grim had lied to me about all kinds of stuff. Usually when he did something like this, he'd make me look at some disgusting mental browser crash link. And he falls for it every time. But he even had a source and was saying he'd invite Shiho. Well, let's look at it. If this is a troll, I'm banning you from the guild. Okay, this time you can trust me. He seemed really confident. Maybe this time I could trust him.
くそ僕はなんてお人よしなんだ
I don't know. My heart pounded as I clicked on the link, narrowing my eyes so that I wouldn't be able to see it clearly at first.
なんだこれ
It was a paper written in English, with a strange diagram at the bottom. There was something in the diagram that looked like a human face. It said United States President. Patent. So, it was true. In other words, this was...
アメリカの特許
VR 技術を知っているかすでに実際にテストは成功しているある研究チームが特許を取得済みだ
It was real. I opened one of the 2 text files that were attached with it. So, it was a Japanese translation of an article talking about the patent. The Victor Chordinari University that's a big word. Psychophysiology lab is currently working on a revolutionary technology called visual rebuilding. The technology is intended for the field of the therapeutics and is being eagerly followed by blind people all over the world. This revolutionary invention would allow the blind to see with the aid of visual device such as a camera. The explanation is, in basic terms, how it works. The electronic signals generated by the video camera are transformed into several impulses. The one from the electrical signal that the brain can read. These signals are transmitted to the optic nerves and through them to the brain. Tests have been successful and a patent was issued.
本当に認められてる？
What Senna had been saying wasn't just a silly fantasy then. I gulped and clicked on the other file. Official order issued by the White House, March 27th, 1997, strengthening projections of research into the secrets of the human body. No organization may do research into the secrets of the human body without informed consent or the support any other organization that conducts such research. This order will go into effect on March 27th, 1998, or earlier if appropriate legislation passes. William J. Clinton, President of the United States, an executive order from the President of the United States. It was like something you'd see in the backstory of a movie, but it was real. I clicked on the link too, just to be sure I could read English, even if I couldn't speak it. I was a lot smarter than the Daikuns that went to school every day after all. Okay. The actual text was more or less the same as the translation I'd been given.
ということは
Senna's words echoed in my mind.
ある意図的な情報を神経パルスへコンバートすることが可能なら、人の五感すべて、さらには人の意志そのものもコントロールできるんじゃないか。
This whole thing was getting kind of compacted. But knowing what Senna said, and that there was a source online to back it up, made my skin crawl. It felt like there was some kind of terrible secret involved with all this. And what worried me more than anything was the fact that Senna had chosen to tell me this. Did it have something to do with me? The idea of controlling another person's will seemed to, at least... I still hadn't ruled out the possibility that I was sleepwalking. Supposedly, the day the New Gen incident Crucified happened, I'd been using the account Shogun to chat at Cafe. And I didn't remember Rimi at all either. I'd supposedly spent over a year with her as a classmate and even gone to hang out a few times, but I didn't remember her at all. Maybe I'd done all that while someone was controlling me. After all, there was no way a guy like me who could barely talk to 3D girls could be friends with a cute girl like Rimi. No, I was overthinking it. The thing with the chat, at least, was just a delusion of Yua's. Shogun was someone else, and just trying to set me up. I wasn't sure if he was actually the old man in the wheelchair I'd seen in front of the 107 building, but it didn't matter. It was even possible that Senna was working with Shogun too. Maybe she was trying to trick me. I couldn't believe what she was saying. I didn't know anything about her, and I couldn't trust her. Senna was no different than Yua. That's what I should be thinking, right, Seriatan? The only sound in the room was that of fingers on keys. Yua Kosunoki's thin, slender fingers were dancing on the keyboard. Her gaze was locked on the monitor. She was typing without looking at the keyboard, with barely any spelling errors. She was writing an email. A long one, too. She'd spent 30 minutes already thinking about what to write, and then going back and changing it. Suddenly, her finger stopped. She let out a sigh and suddenly pressed down hard on the backspace key. The cursor on the screen began to scroll quickly toward the left. Everything she's written vanished in a flash as it went. When it was all gone, Yua brought the Garofragi plush over from her bed and gave it a tight squeeze. It was a habit of hers lately. If she wasn't holding something tightly, the fear would overtake her. She pressed her head down into the stuffed animal and sighed a little sigh.
私に勇気をください。
She whispered to no one in particular, then pressed her lips. She put the stuffed animal on her lap and put her hands back on the keyboard. Letters began to appear on the screen once more, one by one, as her slender fingers typed. The message was, compared to the one she just deleted, simple and short.
送っちゃった。
The email was sent on its way before she had the chance to change her mind. She held the Garofragi on her lap tightly and stared at the monitor for over an hour. She hadn't expected an answer, of course, but there was no sign that one was coming. Room 37 was the same as always. I sunk down into the reclining seat and bit my nails in an attempt to calm my irritation. There was a reason I'd come to At Cafe 2 days in a row, both yesterday and again today. That night, 2 days ago, after I'd found out that from Grimm that Senna's story was true, I'd gotten an email from Yua. It was ridiculously enough to request to talk to me again. Screw you, was what I wanted to say to her. Why would I want to talk to you after you lied to me? I don't have anything to talk about anyway. Obviously, this was just part of some new trap. I'm not going to waste any time talking to you. Sure, I wasn't used to talking to girls. That's why I had gotten so excited when Yua tried to be friendly with me. But behind my back, she thought I was an idiot. And then there was that weird delusion of hers. Sure, I had delusions myself, but I didn't bother other people with them. But her? That crazy bitch had practically called me the new gen killer. I'd never forgive her. I decided to just ignore it, but there was one problem. The email said she'd come to visit the base. She knew where it was, so if I wanted to, so if she wanted to, she could. That's why I'd come here to At Cafe. Then I thought it was, even though it was a school day. I want I wanted to take the D-sword with me for protection, but unlike Senna, I lacked the courage to carry that thing through Center Street. Spending almost half a day at a net cafe was kind of exhausting, though. The reclining seat was comfy, and there was even a shower in the place, but it wasn't as relaxing as the base. And the biggest problem of all was that Seri-ten wasn't here. After 2 days holding up an at cafe, I had come to realize how much she meant to me. I wanted to go home now. But I decided I'd stay here until midnight at least. By then, the trains would stop running, and even Yua wouldn't be able to stay out that late. It would be another 4 hours until midnight. If I played some ESO, the time would fly, but... I looked over at the monitor. My second character, Lisolette, was standing there doing nothing.
お前の見ている景色は本物か?
I remember what Senna said. Over half of what she told me was true. The one thing I hadn't been able to find a source for what that stuff controlling people's will or their bodies, maybe that was part of was just Senna's delusion. Mixing in a little lie with the truth was something that blackmailers and other people who wanted to make threats often did because it worked. I just thought of this. I knew that at least in my head. But after all the strange things that had happened to me over the past few weeks, I still couldn't help but feel scared. Ooh, gotta stretch. Whoa. I stared at Lisolette on the screen. Oh.
D0 ってお前の見ている景色は本物か?
I whispered so that nobody around could hear me. I thought about something similar a bunch of times. Facelard, Lisolette's world, the world that I was looking at right now was real to her, but to me it was fake. Which meant that the person controlling me was seeing my world, and it was fake too. But just as Lisolette could see her controller because he was in a higher dimension, I could see the person controlling me either. Did Lisolette ever think about things like this? She couldn't even move unless I told her. Ah, hello! How's it going? Could I even get out of this reclining seat if the person controlling me didn't want me to? I tried to stand up just to see if I could succeed easily. Then I tried sitting down. I did it without difficulty. Was what I just did done of my own will? Or was the person controlling me telling me what to do? I didn't have any way to tell. I heard the sound of the door to my booth opening. I sensed somebody coming in. I turned around. Good, how are you? Oh, I'm doing good. That's good that you're good. It was you at Kusanagi. I was so scared I tried to scream. But Yua put her hand on my mouth. I just changed my profile picture? Oh yeah? I can't see them in the chat where I'm reading it. I can't see the picture, but that's pretty cool. But Yua put her hand on my mouth. Her hand was warm and and the scent of her sweat hit my nostrils.
黙って声を出さないで出さないって約束してくれるよね
Okay.
しないなんて言わないよね約束して
I promise.
するでしょするのお願い
The booth was tiny. Yua blocked the only exit. The next thing I knew, she pinned my shoulders with incredible strength. I couldn't get up from the seat. Your stinky feet? What about him? How do you know? How do you know they're stinky? The next thing I knew, she pinned my shoulders with incredible strength. I couldn't get up from the seat. Her cold gaze pierced me from point-blank range. I looked away, unable to bear her gaze, and saw 3 Garo froggies on her shoulder bag.
いい声を出さないで
It's a joke? Oh, okay. A silly joke. Blue. What do I do? What should I do? I tried desperately to come up with a way to escape from the situation, but it didn't work. I couldn't think clearly. I'd been caught totally off guard, and my mind was going blank.
昨日あなたの家に行ったんですけどいませんでしたよね夜まで待ってたんですけどでも私を避けようとする西条くんの気持ちはよくわかります私西条くんのこと騙してたわけだし
Then just leave me alone. I had nothing to say to one of Shogun's servants. Particularly the sort of awful person who'd try to trick and trap someone as helpless as me. The little eyes in the hands. Yua cast her gaze downward for a moment, as if hesitating, and then she whispered,
その目誰の目知ってますよね
Yes.
知らないなんて言わせませんヴァンパイアのダイイングメッセージですネットで公表されたことで渋谷で大流行中の言葉でも私流行る前から知ってましたヴァンパイアより前にこの言葉を使っている人がいたから将軍 前に見せましたよね。ナイトハルト、西条君と将軍のチャットログ。そこで将軍が書き込んでました。その目誰の目って。そして
She got closer. Her voice was calm and peaceful, but there was a piercing cold light in her eyes. She was staring at me. Unblinking, I looked away.
将軍はあなた、つまり
Which means what?
お願いです、西条君。もう
Suddenly I realized her hands were shaking. Or was my shaking being transferred to her, to her hands? Then she said something I couldn't believe.
人を殺すのはやめてください。
What?
自覚がないんですね。でもそれも私には理解できます。西条君に自覚があるはずないから。
What was she saying?
あなたは
There was a sadness in her eyes. She'd been staring at me, but suddenly her gaze turned downward.
DID 多重人格なんです。
I had multiple personalities?
最初はあなたのこと警察に突き出すつもりでした。
She kept talking despite my confusion.
それが無理ならこの手でとも思ってました。
Oh.
だけどあなたのこと調べていくうちにあなたも苦しんでるんだって分かって。
Her eyes were looking into mine again. They were pleading. They were pleading with me. And the way it seemed like she was really worried about me. It made me shiver.
私あなたを助けたい。
Her delusion was getting out of control. Nothing she said made any sense. Wait, really? Did it really not make sense?
だから病院に行きましょう。
I didn't understand myself. I'd use the nickname Shogun in chat without even knowing it. I was friends with a girl named Rimi without having any memories of her. Maybe I wasn't sleepwalking. And maybe there wasn't something from the higher dimension controlling me. Maybe the person controlling me was in fact inside my mind the whole time. Your brain? Me, who wasn't me. Another personality who wasn't me. Multiple personalities. My head ached. There was a painful stinging in my temples. This was impossible. It couldn't be true. I wasn't going to believe it. It was just a delusion of Yua's. She was my enemy. She wasn't getting in my she was getting in my way. She was trying to trap me. She was trying to destroy my mind. And the hospital was under Shogun's influence too. The one person I could trust, Mr. Takashina, had disappeared so suddenly that I knew something must have happened to him. Shogun must have killed him, and if I did what you had said, I'd be killed too. There was no way I was going to believe this woman. I don't believe her. 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 I don't believe. I don't believe. I don't believe. My brain shut down. I pushed her as hard as I could. She fell back into the wooden Parthenon door and collapsed to the ground in pain. Finally free from her grip, I grabbed my bag and stepped over her into the corridor. She grabbed my ankle, still crouching on the ground. Her hair was a mess and her glasses had slid down onto her nose. She was clinging to me as hard as she could. I was so scared I let out a miserable scream. She was my enemy. She was working for Shogun. I wouldn't let her fool me. I wouldn't let her fool me again. I screamed and she let go. I ran while I had the chance. I slammed down a 5,000 yen bill from my wallet onto the counter of the astonished clerk. Then I ran to the elevator outside without even waiting for my chance. When it hit the ground, when it hit the ground floor, I dashed outside. The sun had already set. I looked around. There were so many people around. Ran. I just had to run. It was too dangerous to go back to the base. She'd follow me there. I started to run without even knowing where I should go. The thought of Yua coming out of the other elevator any second now, and threatening me with her cold voice made me feel like I needed to get out of there as soon as possible. Pasta, pizza. You ever eat pasta and pizza? A pasta pizza. Boop, 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 boop. I ran and ran, stopping again and again to look behind me. The other pedestrians kept getting in my way. I slammed into the salaryman and Daikun-looking high school girls each time they cursed at me. But I ignored them and kept running. It hurt to breathe. I'd chosen my path randomly, so I didn't even know where I was. I stopped to catch my breath. Then I looked around at my surroundings. I was in front of the Maruchi building. I was close enough to my Ashita Park that I could escape there. I'd rest a little and then keep running. If I could get to Yoyogi Park, there'd be any number of places to hide. Maybe I should spend the night there. I couldn't stop worrying about whether or not Yua was following me. I couldn't see her anywhere. But she might show up at any second with that placid, emotionless face of hers. My instincts drove me forward. Run! Run! When I made it to the bridge at Mayashita Park, I flopped right down onto the ground. I'd run so much that my throat was parched. I wanted an ice-cold soda. But I didn't see any vending machines nearby. Maybe I'd run enough that I was safe now. No, I couldn't be sure. I kept a careful eye on my surroundings. I assumed Mayashita Park would be pretty empty at night, but that didn't seem to be the case. I saw a salaryman walking quickly through the park, taking a shortcut on his way home, and an older man sitting on a bench playing with his cell phone. A group of homeless men were sitting together, and a man in blue was talking to them, a policeman, a cop. The police? I gulped. Those two policemen had talked to me before, hadn't they? I hadn't heard anything from them. They said they'd send someone to watch my area around the base, and nothing had come of it. Mizumi had said they'd come to school, though. What were their names again? I couldn't remember. I told them exactly what I'd seen during the crucified incident, but looking back, something in their expressions had made it clear they were pretty suspicious. Suddenly, the police officer standing by the homeless men looked over at me, or at least it felt like he did. No way. I was overthinking it, I told myself, but still, I looked carefully at what the policeman was doing. Maybe I made it too obvious, though, because this time he looked straight at me. I looked away first. There was no way I could win a staring contest with a cop. Had the policeman been looking at me? Or was he just staring back because I was staring at him? Which was it? I couldn't tell. It could have been either. I waited a little, then looked back at the policeman once more. He was still staring at me, so I had no choice but to quickly look away. Crap. This time I totally looked suspicious. Yua was already after me. I couldn't have the cops after me, too. I had to get through this somehow. I wiped off the cold sweat on my forehead. Then I took a textbook out of the bag, and as I sat there on the ground, I pretended to read as I watched the policeman. He took out something black that might have been a police radio and started speaking into it. He seemed to be reporting something. But the bridge I was sitting on was over Meiji Street, and the sound of the cars below made it too loud to hear what he was saying. This was bad. I was sure of it. I needed to get out of here, but it was too late. Trying anything stupid would be suicide. Since I'd chosen to pretend I was reading a book, I needed to keep it up for a while, or it would look suspicious. I needed to at least keep it up until the policeman stopped looking at me. And then someone ran into the park and right up to the policeman. As I watched out of the corner of my eye, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Yua! Why did she have to find me now? Cold sweat beaded. Oh yeah, cold sweat beaded, not just on my forehead, but on my whole body. This was bad. This was extremely bad. Yua didn't seem to have noticed me yet, so I prayed she'd just pass me by. But I wasn't going to be that lucky. The policeman was staring right at me now, after all. When Yua spoke to him, he noticed me immediately. I grunted, threw my textbook in my bag, and got ready to get up off the ground. I was ready to run at any time. The two of them had a short conversation, then looked at me. Don't look at me. Yua pointed in my direction. She's explaining something to the officer. That bitch! Damn her! I was a peaceful guy, but I was about ready to snap. She turned me over to the police, and what she told them was this insane delusion she'd come up with in her head. That I was the new Gen Killer. Maybe she'd been satisfied now, but what about me? How was I supposed to deal with the false accusation? But of course nobody heard my internal scream. The police officer began to head toward me at a fast pace. I stood up. Shit! 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 She trapped me. She was trying to destroy me. What do I do? What do I do? Should I try talking to the policeman? Should I tell him it was all a delusion of hers? I didn't do anything. I'm an innocent man. Upstanding citizen. I wouldn't say upstanding, but no way. There was no way that would work. In our society, there was no doubt who the cop would believe between a creepy otaku like me and a normal-looking teenage girl like Yua. He probably wouldn't even give me the chance to talk. I had to get out of here. By the time the thought entered my brain, I already turned around and started running. I crossed the bridge and headed down the stairs toward Meiji Street. When I looked back, I could see the policeman chasing me, and it was weirder. Even the man on the bench and one of the homeless people were now chasing after me too. No way. Did you have the cops on her side the whole time? Was my Ishida Park filled with plainclothes detectives? I didn't know what to do. I felt pure shock. It was unfamiliar. I was almost ready to cry. I didn't do anything. I did nothing. The cops were believing her lies. This wasn't fair. Oh, I could cry like a little baby. Oh, I could cry like a little baby. I wiped away the tears and ran down the stairs. I headed as fast as I could down Meiji Street toward the station. I ran through the underpass and up the stairs of the pedestrian bridge. People kept getting in my way and blocking me. I started to wonder if they were doing it deliberately. Everybody started looking like a detective. I was on the verge of panic. I looked back and saw somebody chasing me. I got a glimpse of them moving through the crowd, just like I was. It was one of the people I'd seen at the park. I couldn't tell which one. But they were chasing me. I shuddered. If they caught me here, my life was over. I'd been given the death penalty for a crime I didn't commit and put in jail for decades. Yeah, you'd be given the death penalty and then put into jail. I'd endured a living hell for years, and then they'd say, "Okay, it's time for you to die." Please, no. I couldn't handle that. I didn't want to be... I didn't want that to be my life. Even if I was found innocent in the end, once you were branded as a criminal, that didn't disappear. Nobody would ever trust me again. Please, no. I didn't do anything. I ducked into a small side alley and kept running as fast as I could. But since I'd been running ever since I left Ad Cafe, I quickly ran out of breath. My lungs were desperate for oxygen. My legs could barely move from exhaustion. I regretted not exercising more, but it was far too late for that now. Finally, I stopped, leaning forward with my hands on my knees and panting. I couldn't run anymore. I was in a place I recognized. The distinctive red brick exterior, the big lit-up sign reading Gigantus. I'd come here once with Mizumi back then. I'd come to see Phantasm's concert, more specifically, its lead singer, FES. Now it was quiet and seemingly empty. Only the feeble light of a single vending machine illuminated the front of the building. I glanced back at the path I'd come from, annoyed that my breath wasn't going back to normal. It was a dark and narrow alley. The Tokyo Line's train passed right above me, the light streaming from the car windows, shining bright against the night. But even that light failed to reach the darkness beneath it. I squinted into the night. Had I ditched the police and Yua, it was too dark to see. That spooked me. Oh, it spooked him too. I heard a voice right next to me, right next to my ear, and let up a pathetic scream as I fell back. It was FES. She was dressed in the elaborate outfit she wore for her concerts. As she quietly stood above me in the darkness, there was a sense of fragility about her that hadn't been there when I saw her on the stage. It was too dark to guess the look on her face. As I sat there, too shocked to move, FES offered me a hand. Her voice was calm, but there was power in it. She slowly turned her head, and her hand still stretching out to me as if to see whatever was beyond the darkness. How? Yeah, how do you run? Did she know I was being chased by Yua and the police? For a moment, I was cautious, but right now I had no choice but to trust her. I grabbed it and clung tightly. Her hand was cold. As I stood, she started to run. I was angry because of how exhausted I was, but if it weren't for FES, I might have stayed there until the police caught me. I wanted some water, but I knew there wasn't time. FES kept pulling me onward. We went down narrow alleys, turning that one interaction after another. I no longer had any idea where I was going. I barely knew the layout of Shibuya anyway. At this point, I'd just have to keep following FES. Part of me thought for a minute, this might be a trap of Shogun's, but I brushed that thought away. Even if FES was working for Shogun, there was nothing I could do at this point. My leg muscles were filled with lactic acid, and all the running must have kept my brain from getting enough oxygen because I felt like I was on the verge of passing out. I had to stop myself from telling FES that I couldn't run anymore. Actually, I might have said it a bunch of times without realizing it, but FES just kept running without even looking back at me once. The next thing I knew, we were on a path directly beneath the highway. We were close to Shibuya Station, but there weren't many people here after all. FES headed down the stairwell and led into the darkness. It felt like she knew exactly where she was going. When we got to the very bottom, she finally stopped. I let go of her hand and grabbed onto the stairwell handwell, panting for breath. How much running had I done today? I wasn't sure if I'd ever exercised so much in my life. For a while, the only sounds in the dark, gloomy underground corridor were the sounds of our breathing. We were breathing so loud, everything was shaking. Oh, I looked... I got distracted by something outside. I saw a squirrel running around. I looked at the stairwell's entrance. Nobody had followed us. Had we gotten away? That said, I'd never seen this little underground corridor before. Oh wait, it's very little, I can't see it. Let me go. Wait, where was this? Hello, how's it going? It's the... Wait, I can't... It's so little. I want to see. Aww. It was close to the station, but there was nobody here. One of the lights illuminated the tunnel was on the verge of burning out and was constantly flashing on and off. There was a faint smell of rotting garbage. The place seemed to symbolize the underground of Shibuya. If somebody attacked you here, you could scream, but nobody would notice. It was a place... It was a place I'd want to come... Oh, it wasn't a place I'd want to come alone. That makes more sense. Oh. Oh. Boop. Still panting for breath, I looked over at FES. This is the underground indie singer who was beloved by all, the youth of Shibuya, the one they even called a prophet. And she was with a creepy otaku like me. It felt kind of weird. Beads of sweat had formed on her forehead, running in rivulets down her face. She was wiping them away with the back of her hand. I could see part of her bare chest inside her open jacket peeking out above the camisole she wore. It was heaving up and down with each breath she took. For all that her languid diameter? There was something about her body that felt sexy and alive. It wasn't really moe, it was sexy, probably the best word for it. She was tall and sexy like a model. All the guys probably liked her. Wait, why was I thinking about this now?
追われてたわね。
Yes.
警察。
Yeah. I nodded. It wasn't just the police, but Yua too. But I was too tired to explain that.
私も同じ。
Huh? What did that mean?
私が書いた歌詞となんとかって呼ばれてる事件との関係についてだって
Mm-hmm.
しつこく聞かれたわ。
New Gen. FES's lyrics matched every one of the cases. That's why her believers all said the same thing, that she was a prophet.
私疑われてるみたい。
As a New Gen killer, huh? I had to when I'd learn about her lyrics for the first time. I'd actually thought she might be Shogun. But since she saved me, that actually might not be true. What was FES doing there, though? It was just blind luck? That she'd been there to save me, right? It was right in front of the concert hall, so maybe she'd had a concert today.
君が追われてるのはなぜ？
For fun.
何か悪いことでもしたの？
No, maybe.
チクられた。あの女、僕のことチクったんだ。ニュージェネの犯人にされる。
She told them that I'm a loser. Just kidding. You had tried to get me arrested. Damn it. She was Shogun. She and Shogun were on the verge of destroying my life.
そう。容疑者候補ね。私たち。
Mm-hmm. How could she be laughing?
僕は無実だ。
Yep, that's exactly what an innocent person would say. I got so excited I yelled. My voice echoed loudly through the tunnel, but I couldn't control myself anymore.
事件を目撃しただけだ。証拠品を勝手に持ち帰っちゃったけど、それだけ。
Yep, you're really talking like an innocent person. Just kidding.
それなら
FES's voice regained its calmness.
きっとそれは導きなのよ。大いなる存在による。
Another crazy chick? Another lunatic? Ooh, that rhymed.
君の見たものが事実だったか幻だったかは些細なこと。
That terrible, awful scene was an illusion? Was that possible? It was so real.
君が今抱いている苦しみや怒りは必要なものだったということよ。
What was she talking about? I was disappointed. I kind of realized she was crazy. I'd seen her at the concert, but I hadn't realized it was this bad. They say there's a fine line between genius and crazy, but
だから早く見つけて剣を見つけて。
I gasped. That's what she said at school before. Find it. You'll be saved. That's what she said before. The police were scary, and Shogun and his servants were even scarier. I didn't know why, but they were clearly trying to trap me. And if I was going to save myself from them, if I was going to protect myself, I needed
理想度。
そうよ。
FES's lips curled into a smile.
勉強したみたいね。
それなら手に入れた。僕は理想度を持ってる。 今家に。
知ってるわ。
Whoa. You know? How do you know?
見たから。君が渋谷のど真ん中を歩いていたのを大きなおもちゃを抱きしめて恥ずかしそうにしてたわね。
She was talking about the day I bought the D-sword. Ugh. I can't believe she'd seen me. No, hang on. What had FES just said?
おもちゃ。
The smile was gone from her face. She glanced at me for a moment and then sighed. The air of Inu out of her was so strong, I was starting to get nervous.
偽物だと思うわ。あなたの買った剣は。
I wasn't that surprised. It was exactly what I expected to hear, actually. Compared to the sword that Senna had, mine looked incredibly cheap, and it didn't glow either. It didn't glow in the dark! I wanted to glow in the dark! Anyway, FPS had told me that this was the sword that was going to save my life. The idea that it was on sale for 10,000 yen next to a bunch of sex toys was just too lame to be real. So I wasn't surprised that instead I felt violently angry. Angry at the gloomy-looking shop clerk who tricked me. Angry at myself for being stupid enough to fall for it. Angry at FES for saying all those important-sounding things without actually telling me anything useful.
じゃあ。
I stood up and stormed over to FES. Normally, I'd never be able to do something like that, but right now I was desperate. My encounter with Yua and the police had scared me to death. And not only that, I had been through an absolute hell in the past month or so. I was sick of it. If I was going to go back to my normal life, I needed that sword.
教えてよ。理想のどうやって手に入れるのか。
Yeah. The look on FES's face became very serious as she turned toward me.
見て。
Oh, wait. I'll go on her arm. Like I'm a bird. Boop. She held out her right palm for me to see. Then she motioned for me to stop getting closer as she made a fist. Then she flung her arm back. With a sound like breaking glass, the empty air cracked and shattered. My eyes went wide in shock. FES had stared at me, her expression unchanged. Beyond the cracks in space, I could see a deep darkness. FES stuck her hand between the cracks and pulled hard. Whoa. Whoa. And
そうだ。
the cracking space was repaired almost instantly. It disappeared as if it had never been there. The whole thing took only a few seconds. Was that a magic trick or just a delusion I'd seen? I couldn't believe what had just happened in front of my very eyes. I didn't see It didn't feel real. This was something out of a fantasy or an anime.
この剣は命運を握るもの。
The sword? Was the one FES was waving around during her concert. One I thought was a mic stand. Yeah, you dumb idiot! It was shaped like one of those battleships. Yeah, battleships you see in every sci-fi anime.
この剣は嘆きを収束させたもの。
There wasn't a single straight edge on the whole thing. But it was sharp, beautiful, and terrible.
この剣は超越した場所に干渉するためのもの。
It felt like touching it would cut your finger clean off, probably because it's a sword.
超越した場所って
I couldn't look away. My eyes were locked on FES's D-sword. I couldn't help but ask.
異空間のようなもの。
Another space? The whole thing was turning into an anime.
同一次元上にあるもう一つの可能性。あるいは妄想。
Delusion? I have
言い方
those.
にあまり意味はないわ。唯一確かなの。この剣もその領域に存在しているということ。
That mean that the D-sword was a product of FES's delusion? The impossible scene I just witnessed, a delusion. It didn't exist in reality?
そんなのありえない。
そう。
If FES's sword was a delusion, how could I see it?
言葉に引きずられてはダメよ。後ろを振り返ってみて。
I was confused at FES's sudden demand, but obeyed. Behind me was the stairs, and also... FES was standing there, wearing a school uniform. There's two of you! FES was beside me, and FES was standing in front of me on the stairs. There were two of the same person in the same place. Shocked, I looked back and forth from one another. Their faces, build, hair, everything was the exact same. The only difference was their clothes and whether they were holding a sword or not. They weren't twins or anything like that. They didn't just look alike. They were exactly the same. Whoa.
これも君の妄想よ。
The two FESs said the same thing at the same time. My head was starting to hurt. What was happening right in front of my eyes? Okay. I think we're gonna pick this up next time. I was gonna try and make it to the next chapter, but I don't... Save. What's the difference between quick save and save? Oh, would... Let's save it 2 times just in case. Uh-oh, I'm gonna have to save over the chapter 1s sooner or later. Okay. Gonna pick it up next time. Yes. Boom, 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 boom. Oh. going on? Oh, there we go. I did it. Wow. Well, thank you for watching. Bye-bye.